What you want to talk about?
Again, welcome to everybody who's just joining us. My name is Amanda Pua Walsh, and this is the Astro Summit 2.0 Astrology Secrets to Passion, Purpose, Health, and Wealth. And tonight you are joining us for the live bonus call with David Palmer, the Leo King. And we're going to be covering some incredible topics. I just want to do a brief introduction. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, you're catching us on the Encore series as part of this online event that we've been doing. It's been 8 days. I've talked to 32 astrologers. Again, David is number 33 tonight. And we have been covering topics from financial astrology to medical astrology, relationships, synastry. The astrologers have been covering real technical information about how to look at charts, but also very practical, tangible information for beginners and new people that are just becoming astrology enthusiasts. So it's been an incredible event. We've had amazing feedback, and this now is the beginning of our Encore series. And this is the first surprise that we've had up our sleeve, which is this live event with David tonight. And then we're going to have some more surprises. So because you're joining us for this, you will be kept in the loop about what else is coming over the next couple days. And so just a few logistics about the call. We are going to cover the topics that we talked about on the page that you joined from. So we'll be talking about the cosmic energies of 2016, the wrap up, so the end of this year. We'll be talking about real specific things like the election, the holiday season, also how to prepare for 2017. And then we'll be going into some bigger themes around collective consciousness and the big picture of where we're at in terms of our evolution as humans. So this is going to be very exciting. We are going to leave time for Q&A at the end. If you have a question that you want to ask David, please put it in the question area at the bottom. It's really hard to find the questions from the chat because there's so many people on this call. So enter your questions in there. And then also stick around to the end because we're going to be talking about how you can get access to David's 4-part astrology training course for free. So we'll talk about that at the end as well. All right, and so I want to introduce David to all of you. For those of you who don't know him, he is also known as the Leo King. I had the pleasure of meeting him at his live event in Las Vegas, Hope in the Desert, just a few weeks ago. And what impressed me the most is his focus and emphasis on the bigger picture, on consciousness, on evolution, on the light, and how we can be beacons of light and how we can actually help to positively impact the planet. And so what first attracted me to David several years ago was his daily horoscopes. I love his entertaining style. I love how accurate his horoscopes are. He really helped me through a very challenging time in my life. But what I loved about being at his event is that I realized the deeper reason why I have always resonated with him is because of his depth and because of his dedication to his mission to really be a positive influence on this planet and to be a part of the change. And so we're going to talk about both of those things tonight because I think those are the things that make him unique. We're going to talk about the horoscope and the forecast, and we're going to go into some real juicy, deep things about us as humans on this planet at this time and our role here. So David, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me okay? And are you there? Just want to make sure.
I got you. Thank you so much for having me on again. It's a pleasure to be back on Astrology Hub. I love what you're doing with this. This is awesome, especially the summit. That many astrologers, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I feel like I'm just getting this crash course in astrology. I'm not an astrologer, so for me, it's just like every single talk, I'm learning so much, and I love the variety of all the speakers and just all the different viewpoints, all the different lenses. It really makes it so there's something for everyone in the audience, which is the coolest thing.
Super cool. No, I'm stoked to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I want to start with a question before we dive into the content. I want to start with a question about you, just so the audience can get to know you a little bit better. All right, so one of the things that you covered at your event was how you actually became the Leo King. And I got to say, like, stepping into such a bold title for yourself must have been a process. And I loved hearing the story of how you went from David Palmer to the Leo King. So can you start with that for us and just tell us a little bit about that process and some of the challenges that you had stepping into that role?
Sure. I mean, on the real basic, really fast story, long story short, David Palmer is who I am, but I was a television personality, really trying to build my persona as David Palmer. And then I really was like, I'll be a house DJ, and then I'll try and mix astrology with it. And it was really difficult, really trying to for people to even hear, in this world today, there's something about just hearing a name when somebody says, hey, do you know Jim John? It's like, no, and I don't care. It's kind of like, it doesn't stick. And especially in the astrology world, whenever you tell me astrology's names, I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, there's this kind of hard way for things to stick. But it even became deeper than that when I started doing my horoscopes as David Palmer, as I did a bunch of past life regressions, and I really got connected to my time with the Knights Templar, really started to look into a lot of my Leo aspects as far as the royalty aspect and the whole king and the inspiration. And I was like, I need to find a perfect date to align everything with who I am. And I picked the Sun Jupiter date. It was when Jupiter was in Gemini. It was June 19th, 2013. And I literally waited it out. I waited 6 months, had the logo built, had the idea built, went and did the pictures, and I really embodied and became this other soul. I basically birthed a soul that was going to represent astrology, because David Palmer couldn't blast the message the way that needed to. The Leo King is all about not letting society and not letting the world and not letting the critics and not letting the media and not letting anything inhibit that pure message and that bold message of, this is astrology, this is it. And there's a lot of suppression with astrology out there. And I kind of had to give myself some armor. So that's the short story, is like creating a persona that was going to be the armor and the character, because I believe having a character is important, especially if you're going to be a persona. When you try and do it under your own name, it's like in business, right? I create a corporation to save myself so I don't get screwed if I get sued. I kind of did the same thing with the Leo King, even business-wise. I have a corporation called the Leo King, but, that's the same kind of way in a more spiritual way.
Yeah, totally. So what was the reaction from people? Were people like, I am turned off, or was it a positive reaction? How did that go?
It went, yeah, I think I had, first of all, I think it was hardest for me, the next day on my videos, like, I'm the Leo King, it took like a while, and then it just naturally really started to form and more of a character and doing the pictures. And some people didn't like it, of course, but you know what, if they don't like it and they're talking about you, you know what, you're doing something right. That's been always my deal. And that's always what Leo represents. Like, how many people in China wear those crazy little swimsuits that go over their face because they're like, I don't like the sun. It's like, same thing with Leo. It's like, I don't like that Leo. He's shining too bright, or he's shining that way. It's like, but some people love the sun and they don't want, like me, I don't wear suntan lotion. I wear oil with 0 SPF and I love it. So that's the thing with Leo. You either are going to have it, the sunbathers, or you're going to have the people wearing those crazy weird swimsuits that they don't want any sun on their face. They actually sell creamer, more white cream in Asia to look more white. It's like bad to look tan in Asia. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that, but it's really interesting. I mean, what I love about you is that you are in full expression. And I feel like so many of us want to be. And it's hard, it's hard to be out there with your heart on your sleeve, just being exactly who you are, shining the gifts that God has given you, and just, be who you are sort of unapologetically. And I think that you're so good at modeling that for us. So thank you for that, because I know it's not always easy. It's not always easy. So thank you.
Oh, no, it's not. And I appreciate that. But that's what it is to be a role model and inspiration. And that's what the character represents. And sometimes there's part of the character that's imperfect. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, is like, I'm learning even the imperfection is perfection of the role,
Totally.
So,
Totally. I'm right there with you. Okay. All right. So let's start with the cosmic energies that we will be experiencing in the next 3 months as we wrap up 2016? And let's just start kind of general, and then we can dig into the specifics like the election and the holidays, etc.
Got you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. Boom, boom, boom. And let's share the screen. So here we are. I don't know if everybody can see this at all.
I can see it.
But what this is I've laid out basically all the dates and all the big transits that are happening. Now, of course, there's other little things that happen in between this stuff that aren't going to be mentioned here, but these are the big major things. I would say that October is wheels turning, engines firing, and finally moving forward. You got to remember that this year was kind of a difficult year because it was a Mars retrograde year, and Mars finally left the two signs that it was retrograde in this year, Scorpio and Sagittarius, and it entered Capricorn right as we come into October. And right when a new moon in Libra happens, which happens on the last day of September. So it's like we come into October with things moving forward. Mercury's out of retrograde, and there's a lot of positivity starting to burn forward. Pluto's gone direct. October is a month of truly major decisions because these decisions are going to last 2 years. And get this, 2 years from these decisions we make in October is when we are going to have Saturn, Pluto, and then, of course, Mars in Capricorn the next time, and Mars is going to retrograde in Capricorn the next time. So you got to realize, like, this is a big deal really quick here, right after the eclipses, that October is. October is no joke. October is gonna really, I think, concrete. It is a cardinal month, right? We're in a cardinal season, but more importantly, we got Jupiter in a cardinal sign, we got Uranus in a cardinal sign, we got Mars in a cardinal sign, and they're all about making this new road happen. And really, October to me is all about this new road. It's all about this new road. This is also going to be the sun entering Scorpio, which is going to be a relief because there's no more crazy planets going retrograde in Scorpio. You know, there's no Mars there anymore. There's no Saturn there, the two malefics. So this Scorpio transit's really going to be able to fill the cup. It's going to be really able to really kind of, you know, fill in the blanks, what your true passions are, what you're ready to commit to in your life, what you're ready to go for in your life. Venus will be in Sagittarius at the end of the month, which will be, I think, really serious as well, as Venus will pass Saturn. You got to remember Saturn's in Sagittarius, so we're going to have Venus go through there as well. And so there's a lot that's brewing in October. There's a full moon in Aries on top of Uranus. I mean, there's a lot of electricity. There's a lot of breakthroughs. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of positive energy, although it's going to be difficult because it's not going to be easy to tell people I'm doing this, I'm going this way, because some people are going to feel left out. Some people are going to feel like, you're not going on this trip with me? Oh, no, I'm not. And it's Libra season, it's Jupiter in Libra. And the first thing that Jupiter teaches us with Jupiter in Libra is some doors got to close to open the ones that need to open in relationships. So this is going to be a relationship doorway, but also a pathway in your own life of big achievements for the next couple years. This is setting the chord for the next couple years because of Mars in Capricorn, because everything's getting ready to come into Capricorn in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. I mean, we're literally, especially more 18, 19, 20, 17, not so much, but that's why this is so big.
Wait, hold on one sec. So in October, we're making big decisions that are basically setting the stage for the next 2 years. And at the end of the next 2 years, there's some event that is like a culminating point.
Yes, because if you think about, Mars does a 2-year cycle. So Mars is going to come, and if we look at 2018, right? So, you know, it'd be fun to see here, like what I'll do is I'll pull up actually something else for you guys to see while I'm getting there and talking about this. But in 2018, Mars will come back for a retrograde again. What's going to be interesting about this retrograde is it's going to be happening in Capricorn, where Saturn will be now, which is his normal home. Mars is at its exaltation there in Capricorn, and Pluto will be in Capricorn. So it'll be like a Capricorn overwhelming, huge transit. And so the next time we're going to get this kind of energy with Mars is going to be in 2 years, right? So it's going to be a while. So it's like we're all getting really prepared for this. And, I think it's important to kind of pay attention to everything that's going on with this, because, Mars is going to be really intense when it retrogrades in Capricorn, personally. I mean, it's not going to go all the way in. It's going to technically retrograde in Aquarius, but it will retrograde in Capricorn, and that's the natural best place for Capricorn and Mars together. So I'm going to switch my new share screen, and we're going to the ephemeris. And what the ephemeris is, and what I can do for you all, is ephemerises are calendars that let us look at the astrological planetary positions of the date. It's almost like just a calendar. So if we look in 2018, and if we look at this Mars energy, in May of 2018, Mars enters Aquarius. June of 2018, Mars is still in Aquarius, and it goes retrograde. So June 27th, Mars goes retrograde. And that's in 2018. But if you see what happens in August of 2018 and in September of 2018 is when Mars will be in shadow period in Capricorn, which is exactly 2 years from right now. I mean, let's be honest. It's 1 year and 11 months, but it is 2 years, right? And so these big major things that are coming here in October, as Mars is going to be in Capricorn for the whole month of October, is us really making our big decisions. Capricorn rules decisions. Capricorn rules where you're going in your life, your big achievements, especially when Mars is there. This is a time where you can't sit around. You have to get up off your feet. Everybody in their life is realizing things are going down. I need to get on my feet. I need to make things happen. And it's very difficult because Jupiter is in Libra now, which is a very opposite energy. Jupiter's like, let's sit down and watch Mai Tais and go on the beach and have a drink and watch the sunset. That's what Jupiter's wanting to do in Libra. Jupiter in Libra is very like, oh yeah, like let's have harmony. Let's go have a nice like wedding with, beautiful flowers and look at the sunrise and the sunset in Maui. Like that's Jupiter in Libra. But Mars in Capricorn is like, we got shit to do, man. Like, there is no time for that. Like, so that's why I'm saying there's a hesitation, and I'm going to get off of this and come back to this preview shot of like what's coming this month is you got to realize like October is it, because Mars enters Aquarius November 9th. And so if we go into November, it's kind of like everything has set, if that makes sense. And the next couple years really is this road we're going, this place we're going. And whatever is about to culminate there in 2018 is going to be really intense, because Saturn will be in Capricorn when Mars is in Capricorn and Pluto. That is overwhelming. Saturn in its natural home, Mars in its exaltation. I mean, it's a little overwhelming, and that might be a little bit for too much for people over their heads, but the next 2 years really are kind of signaling through October now. They are going to echo in that sort of a way.
Okay, so I'm thinking discernment and alignment. Those would be two things that two qualities. Those are the ones that are coming to me. Do you have anything you'd want to add?
Yes, I would add think long-term and think what's the best for you. Don't think about the just beautiful sunset only. Like, they only last about 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that wedding's real nice for a couple hours, and then right. Reality hits. Like, and that's the problem with Jupiter in Libra, right? Like, is Jupiter in Libra. That's why Saturn is exalted in Libra, because Saturn realizes, okay, like, let's make sure that we, weigh out the right time. Like, Jupiter in Libra kind of like loses its idea of time, and it gets like really caught up in relaxing a little bit, taking some time off, and especially because it's gone through so much in Virgo, it was in a little tight little room where it could barely fit. It was like Santa Claus going down the chimney, and now he's finally at the beach drinking Mai Tais. So Santa Claus has to kind of get on track here and realize there's a whole bunch of gifts still to go do. There's a whole bunch of work to do. You just can't sit on the beach and hope everything's going to work out. And this is where confrontation comes up, and hesitation is you have a road you got to go do, and relationships are going to be upset, but there's going to be some that are really happy too. That's the whole weird part about October. It's a relationship month. If you want to even get deeper, and if you want me to pull up the chart, the craziest part about October is Juno, which is an asteroid that represents, the kind of relationship or the twin flame energy. 2, Black Moon Lilith, which represents Lilith, which represents this really intense feminine / masculine side of the feminine, which will do whatever it wants to get it. Plus Venus will all three be conjunct in October. So this brings up twin flame energy extreme. This brings up, intense relationships like do or die, divorce or marry. Like it's like kind of overwhelming. And so I think that people have to kind of also look at that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's super intense, and we'll be ready.
I think people will be ready. Yeah, I really do. I know they will. It's just it's hard because I think hesitation is going to mount extremely for a lot of people. Like, oh, should I do this? Oh man, I got to, Mars and Capricorn kind of outrules Jupiter and Libra and the Sun in Libra. It just does, and it's going to be very, very intense to kind of watch and see what happens with relationships this month, because they're kind of determining where you're going and what you're doing, and that's more than love. That's business. That's friendships. There's a lot in that plate,
Okay, awesome. All right. So what about November?
So November, and to me, really is kind of like, oh, all right, we're going on the journey. We're really involved now. There's no more, there'll be some slight hesitation with Jupiter still in Libra, but it really is with Mars in Aquarius, with the Sun in Scorpio, especially when you look at Venus entering Capricorn. It's just like things are manifesting, things are working. Mercury will be at full speed, so there'll be this really good, like everything's going. This is when businesses are blooming. This is when relationships are blooming. The full moon in Taurus is going to be really nice, really creating kind of a fertile ground for people. So this is kind of like things hardening, things really starting to sink. This is you kind of like getting a routine and a rhythm going with life. And I think it's going to be one of the greatest months we have. Now, it will be election month, which I think is kind of crazy. But it's interesting that election happens on November 8th. November 9th, Mars comes into Aquarius, and everything kind of happens after the election, kind of more easy. I think the build up to the election is a little intense, but I think after the election on November 9th with Mars coming into Aquarius, things kind of ease up. Venus goes into Capricorn. Things just kind of get real serious. Mercury comes into Sagittarius, kind of broadens our perceptions of where to go now. And Neptune will come direct, which is going to be a big deal because now almost every planet is direct except Uranus. It will be every planet except Uranus direct. And that means that the train's going really fast. People's lives are moving fast. Things are happening. Moves are happening. People are making big, big moves in their life, more than just physical. But, it's like, you don't waste these moments. Does that make sense? Like November and October are months you don't waste. This is where the universe is like back on full gear, giving you time, new karma to be made. This is about new karma, not past karma. This is not about dealing with past, issues. This is also Saturn, which is chugging along, getting through its shadow period and getting ready to come out of shadow period during this 3-month period. So that means we're coming to the train at full speed. So November is all about full speed ahead. and a really like positive month. The new moon and the full moon to me look really positive. The new moon at 7 degrees of Sagittarius at the end of November looks, I think, really good, and it really kind of, even though it's close to Saturn, it's not on it, and it's squaring Neptune. It really, I think, just is like really, this whole thing is all about your perception of your life and your belief, and that's really what I think more of December kind of comes into is, where do you go with all this now, and what is your biggest dream, and what is the right place. And I think a lot of people are going to be in big questions of what is their big purpose, where is the trajectory in their life. We also have Chiron goes direct on the first day of December, and there's nothing retrograde, right, except Mercury, which happens in December. But there's a moment at the beginning of December that's like everything is on, and then Uranus comes direct at the end of December. So you got to be honest, like the last 3 months of 2016 is extremely positive and extremely moving forward. The only difficult transits are Jupiter square Pluto, which means with extreme change is going to come extreme lessons. And I think a lot of people are going to be blown away by how much they've changed by the end of November, by how much the world changed so fast. And to keep your head in the right place with all this Sagittarius Saturn energy, with the Neptune energy and South Node being conjunct, that's not in this thing I'm sharing. But if I were to share with you all, and just like, well, I guess it's not showing it on here, but you got to realize the South Node and Neptune are going to be conjuncting. So the main thing to watch for is your own like subconscious triggers, your own addictions, your own patterns, and trying not to repeat them, and really trying to use this exciting new karma and not create a record you've spun before, and really create a record that you want to play that you've never played before, that you've been wanting to play your whole life. December settles down a lot with Mercury retrograde, Mars entering Pisces, Sun entering Capricorn. That's going to be a very weak period. Even though Jupiter opposes Uranus, I don't think that's going to be that extreme because of the fact that Mercury's retrograde, Mars is in Pisces, Sun is in Capricorn. Everything kind of starts dying down a little bit, and the train starts to kind of, it had its big peak moment, and it's now kind of like at set speed per se, and everybody's really, I think, ready for the new year, with a lot of questions to what they manifested over the last 3 months, and dreams can come true, and the adventure that we're all ready for. It's kind of Indiana Jones, like the ride.
Okay, so a lot of people have had a very challenging, not just 2016, but the last, 4 or 5 years. So would you say that we're coming into a smoother position now? Because you're talking about less cleaning up from the past, less karmic.
Yes,
cleanup.
I would say that it now a lot of people would say, oh my gosh, there's all these big squares with Jupiter, Uranus, and all these cardinal things. It's like, we went through that in 2014 and with Pluto, Uranus, and all this stuff. But, this is Jupiter. This is about really finding ways to open our worlds now. This is Saturn and Sagittarius. There are many options. And the lesson now with Saturn kind of exiting the second decan of Sagittarius here at the last 3 months really has shown us that we were freaking out over nothing. We had options at every door. And at every moment when we were freaking out, and every moment we had fear, there was always an option. There was always a really positive door. There was always God sitting there laughing with you, going, "Really? Really? You were freaking out?" And you were like, "Yeah, I was. I'm sorry." We kind of all, I think, exit at the year going like, "Man, we learned a lot. We grew extremely, and we have the universe and the angels and God's doors open everywhere. And this is where the biggest of all those doors come. But at the same time, the biggest fears come with that. Is like people are going to, it's like if you're going to fall into that fear category and not find hope and not find positivity, you know, it'll be rough. But if you continue to just stay hopeful and positive and realize that these are huge doors for you right now, they're great doors, and the universe is on full speed ahead the last 3 months of 2016. This is time where you go for it. This is time where you make those things happen. And that's why I said October is a little bit hesitant. You pick the road, and it might be a little hard to tell somebody, hey, I'm picking this road. This is the universe splitting now. This is everybody kind of picking their roads, their trains, and it's exciting. It's exciting. So yes, I would say it's much easier than what we've been through. Mars retrograde years suck. And you know, having a year of the monkey with a Mars retrograde is like an oxymoron. You know why? Because the monkey wants to go around, and the monkey's kind of stuck in the cage and going, rah, rah, rah. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, now the monkey's out of the cage. The last 3 months, the monkey's out of the cage for the finishing of the year of the monkey. Like, it's like, oh my God, I can finally get the hell out of here. No, you know, it's kind of like, whoa. And it's like, the first thing it's doing is it's running to this, it's running to that, it's running to, I got to get some bananas, and I need to go through McDonald's and get a banana shake or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, it's so awesome. David, I have to say, on your app, sometimes I watch it with my 2 little girls, and when you do something really funny like you just did with the monkey, they want me to show it over and over and over. So that will be one of those things. I'll be like, show him doing the monkey thing again, Mama.
You know,
Awesome.
but it's true. That's like a year of the monkey with a Mars retrograde year, and with Saturn in Sagittarius, which kind of like, the monkey wants to go roam free and run around and do whatever it wants and swing from trees and, you know, and hang out with Tarzan, right? It's like, but this year it wasn't able to. And so there's this like pressure on the door, and the door is going to fly wide open here in October. And
That's awesome. I think it's great.
So that's what I would say the next 3 months. Of course, I could break down every little transit, but I think that would take 5 hours. So it's like stupid to do that. I think if I were to look overall, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's what we need. Totally. Okay. So my next question, before we get into the election, I just want to caveat by saying, by acknowledging that this is a very sensitive topic for most people right now. It's very triggering. There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of polarization. So there's a lot of different opinions about who should win and, you know, what's going on. So I think what I would love to invite everyone to do is just listen with an open heart and mind, and recognize that David is just going to report the astrology the way he sees it. If you don't agree or it doesn't resonate, you can leave it at the door. You don't have to take any of it. So with that said, David, I'd love to hear your take on the election, on the candidates, and what you think is going to play out for us with that big topic coming up very soon.
First of all, I got to say, I agree with you. As somebody who does political astrology, but with more of a fun twist, some people just get triggered. It doesn't matter who you hear. If you talk about Trump, Hillary people get triggered. If you talk about Hillary, Trump people get triggered. So it's like, let your triggers down and push that aside and come from just looking as an astrological person, you know? And both of them are power hitters. You got Hillary Clinton with extreme Scorpio Leo squares, born in between eclipses, right in between, with a big, you know, sun square, you know, sun trine the moon in the middle, right when there was about to become another eclipse. Both candidates, by the way, were born during eclipse time. So whenever you got two people going against each other during eclipse time, I mean, these people are like overly powerhouses already. And you've got Hillary on one end who, you know, has extreme desires that she'll do anything to get. She's got Mars, Pluto, Saturn conjunct. And what I'll do is I'll do a little share here. Here is Hillary's chart. Now, we don't know her exact time of birth, but we do know that she does have a moon in Pisces. And look at this, though. If we look at her chart, she has got, and we're going to zoom in, she has got Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So this is why nobody understands her information is. Like, nobody understands why she deleted the emails, just because of the fact that Mercury is retrograde, like in Scorpio, and it squares Pluto, it squares Mars, and it squares Saturn. These are the three malefics. She has the three worst planets hanging out in the same spot, square her Mercury, square her Venus. This is why she also has had so many trouble with not only the things she has said, but this is also why she has had so much trouble with relationships. She has Venus in the middle of this. Venus square Saturn, Venus square Pluto, Venus square Mars. So if you look at her chart, communication-wise and relationship-wise, very, very rough. I feel very bad for her. This is a very difficult lesson. She also was born with the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, and that South Node is exactly conjunct, her Sun and her Venus and her Mercury, and it's like she's South Node Sun people. It's kind of hard, they kind of have to aim the other way and aim in the Taurus round, which is being of the light, not the dark. And there's a part of her trying to really, I think, step out of darkness this life. She's been through a lot of betrayal. She's been through a lot of dark stuff. She's been through a lot of secret. She's been through a lot of power, scorpionic wise. She went through Pluto through her chart in the 1980s, which is why she changed her look from glasses and kind of a nerd to like a blonde girl, which was the only way that Bill got in the White House. It's so funny. I said this in my show 2 days ago. They just brought out a documentary that's coming out about the Clintons that's going to be in movie theaters, and they talk about that. Like, she has manipulated her own identity so many times because I don't think she knows exactly how to project herself correctly. And so her South Node on her Venus and her Mercury make it even more difficult, that she has past life issues with communication and relationships, and that she always has a difficult time actually getting what she wants this life without somebody's approval or somebody actually making it happen for them or being the catalyst for their success instead of her own. I think she was the catalyst for Obama's success, and I think she's been the catalyst for her husband's success. We'll see if she can master the art of being the catalyst of success for her own. That's her biggest difficulty in her chart, and that's her number one biggest lesson with Mars and Pluto conjunct is her desperation. Mars conjunct Pluto is, I will do anything to become the identity that I want, and there's Saturn close by, and it's all about showing love. And I really believe that she is trying to step into that role of showing love to others and inspiration to others. Whether she can really do it or not is really the question, if people really buy her inspiration or if they just buy what she's selling because it seems better than Trump is, And if we look at Trump's chart, he's a totally different animal. He actually was born on a lunar eclipse exactly. If you look at his full moon, it's exact.
Hey, David, before you go much further, there's questions about what it means to be born during an eclipse. Can you just give us a brief?
It just means that you have an extremely powerful soul that has an extremely powerful soul lesson. Most of the time, it means that you have an extremely karmic mission this life that usually is going to be very, seen, because eclipses are seen. So they really force you to kind of come out into the world, into the light, and have to make a difference, and they become big stories usually, because eclipses are very intense, but they're also meaning, that this is kind of the highlight life of whatever that soul is going through. Like, this is like their peak life, that this one would be the one that is their biggest catalyst per se, of all their soul journey. This is kind of for both of them. But for Donald Trump, it's actually an eclipse. For her, she's just in between eclipses. So she was born during a very sensitive time, which means that, she came in during a time when things were really kind of chaotic and in transition, and so did Donald Trump. Hence, they both, I think, is ironic. She started as a Republican, ended up as a Democrat. He started as a Democrat, ended up as a Republican. I mean, it's like kind of like they both are transition. If you look at your life in the last month of September, you realize that you entered it in one direction and you're exiting it totally different, and you are transitioning in so many aspects of your life. same thing when you're born with this. I hope that answered that question.
It does. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So back
So
to Donald Trump.
So Donald Trump, born on a lunar eclipse, born with the Sun and Uranus conjunct. So he is an alien. He does things differently. He is going to not be of the norm. He's going to do everything different. Uranus is like, you got to realize that Uranus is the way to heaven. I'm not saying this because I love Trump. It's crazy. People think I just like love Trump because of the fact of how I describe his chart. But he was born lucky, okay? He was born lucky. He's got Mars conjunct the rising sign on Regulus. That is like the strongest position you can be born with, the rising sign in Mars. That means that's warrior. That means he always finds a way to win no matter what. This is what makes, I think, people hate him so much. And everybody hates a Leo rising, including the Leo King, when they win, you know? Like everybody gets pissed. So people don't like him because and I can relate. I'm a Leo rising late degree. Yeah, I will do things that people don't like to win. And that is kind of like a lion, right? Like the lion goes out and will do whatever it's got to do to get food on the table. If it's got to kill a couple things, it'll do that. And I think there's with Mars there, he comes across extremely bombastic, extremely egotistical. Mars is ego. And he's got Pluto in Leo in the 12th. So he gets himself with his ego stuck in really tough holes. And what's interesting about him in this Uranus aspect is Uranus is heaven. It's hard for people, I think, to realize that his ideas or his message, because he is a messenger, he is a Gemini, is unique and weird things that you've never heard before that will offer a solution to fix things. Uranus wants to fix things. That's what Aquarius does. It fixes things. And it does things and he's a fixer. And he's a teacher. He's got the North Node, South Node in Sag and Gemini. Hers are in Scorpio and Taurus. So she's not I'm going to be very real. She's not a teacher. She doesn't have much to teach. She's just a talking head for great pieces. Whereas Donald Trump believes in his message, but has a message. So the difference between two candidates is you got one person who's just playing it by how she feels is the right thing without much of a belief behind it, just kind of like whatever is going on right at the moment. Then you got somebody on the other hand, Donald Trump, who believes in a message just as extremely bombastic and egotistical. His difficult aspect is to see he's got Mercury square Neptune. He does not intuitively pay attention to what his intuition says. He'll just say shit even when his intuition tells him not to, he does it anyway. Mercury square Neptune as well can be very confused and also get all the facts a little bit off. So that's why I think for him, he's really well at doing it off the cuff, but his facts are always going to be off. He's got Mercury square Neptune, so it's always going to be a little bit foggy, a little bit off, a little bit not on track. He also has Venus square Jupiter, which is why he likes so many nice things. He likes so many women. And he's got Saturn close by. So, he's kind of controlling in that way. I think he's kind of a controlling relationship person, especially with Jupiter there. He doesn't really give much positive hope. He kind of like holds you accountable. Whereas I'm going to be honest, Hillary Clinton doesn't. I mean, let's just talk about her and relationships. Venus square Pluto. She allows people to screw her over, including her own husband, which I think is, and it might sound like I'm biased, but I'm just being an astrologer and being like, wow. She's been through 2 affairs. He cheated on her twice publicly, and she's still with him. This is Venus square Pluto. This is Venus square Mars. This is Venus square Saturn. And Venus in detriment. So she has very poor relationship skills. I think it's interesting that she goes around the world to set up relationships, but I don't know how many of them actually stick, That's something that I think would be an interesting thing to look at. Her intuition, though, if you notice, her Neptune doesn't have any negative aspects. So I think intuitively, and she's not very misguided per se. She actually knows what she's going to do. She actually knows the direction very well. Well, Trump is definitely playing the fiddle without looking at the notes, like paper in front of him. Just fiddling. He's a fiddler on the roof. And kind of playing off the cuff. And even though he's got a sun in the 10th house, which means he can execute plans and he can play the role really well, and he's got Uranus there, there's a part where he does have Jupiter trine his sun. That's why he has such good luck. And unfortunately, Hillary does not have good luck. Whenever I think about her life and I look at her chart, I look at man, it's been a rough life. Been a rough life. Donald Trump's had some rough stuff, but much more positive. It always works out for him. He always will end up winning. And then on top of it, with that full moon in Sagittarius, he always will bring it to where there's some positivity, or he'll always make a joke, or he'll always crack a joke, or he'll always do a Gemini Sag thing and find a way to slip out of it and get through it and mutable and change out of it. So, the difficult transits to both of them is both of them, their moons are in mutable sign. And this is a year in an election year where both Saturn is in Sagittarius, aspecting both of their moons, which means they emotionally are not in comfortable positions. They're both dealing with very hard emotions, both of them at the same time. And they both are not comfortable right now. I would say Hillary's even more uncomfortable because Neptune's overwhelming her moon right now, and because it's in the natural sign and the south node is there. Whenever you have the south node past the moon, you're going to be dealing with a lot of emotional issues and a lot of difficult emotional stuff. So, I feel bad because I think that she's actually going through it much harder than Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump gets much more hate. Well, I don't know. I think both of them get a lot of hate. But I think his is just because of his ego. Hers is because she doesn't know how to communicate and reveal what's going on very well, which you can see clearly with their Mercury Pluto. Now let's move to election day because I don't want to spend too much time on all this stuff. I changed the date because I was going to show you guys something earlier, but it's on November 8th. And this is what's the most interesting about the election between both of these candidates and for the whole nation. Now, there are other candidates involved. I don't want to discount them, but unfortunately, the universe and the media is not covering them for some reason. They're definitely not. I don't know. If I remember right, I don't think they're all eclipse babies. So you're dealing with two eclipse babies. So, it's sorry. Now, this is why I picked this time. So at 12:46 p.m. West Coast time, 3:46 p.m. on November 8th, East Coast time, the moon will be void off course at the edge of Aquarius, moving into Pisces, which means the moon will transition into a different sign during the election day. For Hillary Clinton, she is a Scorpio. For all Scorpios, Aquarius is the fourth house. It's the house of home. It's not the house of career. For Donald Trump being a Gemini, solar-wise, the moon coming into Aquarius and then into Pisces is the house of belief, and then the house of career. The other aspect is Mars is going to be on its final day, in its final degree of Capricorn. It's going to be a very edgy day. And I believe that people are going to be switching their minds throughout the day. I believe there's going to either be a story that comes out the night before or during the middle of the day that is going to try and sway voters very intensely, because of the fact that the moon is going to switch signs in the middle of the day. How ironic that it's going to happen right before 5 p.m. Eastern when most people are going to the polls. How ironic that it's going to be happening right in the middle of the day for West Coasters so that they have a lot of time to process this before they go to the polls. I think most of this election is going to be decided after 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, right when the moon comes into Pisces. And there is going to be a lot of deception that's going to be involved with this election, with the South Node and Neptune exactly conjunct almost, with the moon entering this space in Chiron, with the sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio. It's going to be Water City, Mars in Capricorn. I mean, you got to realize, people are going to do anything they can to win. Mars in Capricorn at the last degree, at exaltation.
So, David, do you think whoever's leading the polls up until that moment, there's going to be a last minute switch?
I definitely feel that we're going to all be switched. I think we're all going to, it's going to look like one person's winning and then it's going to switch. It's going to be like, what? I think there's going to be a what factor because of the fact of the switch, because of the fact that Mars is at the edge, and because of the fact as well, the way that I'm looking at this too is I think it's so hard to call this election because there's too much deceit happening universally, right? Whenever you have South Node and Neptune conjunct, you're dealing with Neptune rules the media, Neptune rules television, Neptune rules the airwaves, Neptune rules radio, Neptune. It looks like, have you guys ever looked at Neptune? What does that look like to you? I'm going to like scroll down. What does Neptune look like? What does that look like? Does that look like an antenna? Neptune is an antenna. It is your antenna to the universe. And when you have the South Node on there, the antenna that is broadcasting the waves, and it's in Pisces, is in it's in being deceived. So there's going to be some sort of weird trickery. It could even be that we don't even know the results of the election till the next day. And of course, they would wait till the moon comes over Neptune late at night to the next day. So it would be like, and then there could be some weird thing where everybody knows there's something wrong. There's something wrong. That's my personal opinion. I feel like that there's going to be something that feels wrong on either side. If Trump wins, everybody will be like, this is feeling a little bit weird. If Hillary wins, everybody will be like, this will feel something weird. But there's just going to be something off that's too ironic, right? You know, do you know how long the South Node and Neptune ever conjunct in Pisces? The last time this could have ever even happened was in the 1850s. There's no way that these two have ever conjuncted in our lifetimes like this, or during an election, ever. And the moon's going to be there. And Chiron's there. That's scary to me. Because that means that there's going to be way too much misinformation, way too much cloudiness. And when you have Mars at the last degree of Capricorn, that means either side or some team is doing. Mars at the last degree of Capricorn is very dark. I'm going to be very honest. You know why? It is the last step before you reach the top of the mountain. And what do you do on those last couple steps? It's like you got to pull up whatever you got to do to get there. Whether you got to cuss, whether you got to like hit yourself in the face, whether you got to do whatever, you got to get that last amount of energy, you got to get that last little edge, and you got to just get up there. Whether you got to trample on something, whether you got to spit, whether you got to, whatever you got to do, you got to get there. And that's on that day. And that's on that day with more deception than we'll ever see in our lives in a more public arena than ever. This is also Saturn, which is getting ready to come out of shadow period. It's on its Jupiter is squaring. It just is. I feel there'll be some sort of deception. And when I call the winner, you know, I was thinking about this morning, you know, on my last show, I was saying, I think Donald Trump's chart is way stronger. Like, if I were to be honest with you, his chart is way stronger for winning. And hers is just a chart of always losing. But there's this other notion where we are in the change from the masculine to the feminine with the star Regulus, which moved into Virgo in 2012. And having the first woman major candidate, you know, astrologically speaking, from a universal sense, not even looking at her chart, not looking at his chart, just thinking on that notion, I want to believe that Hillary will win just for the fact of that the universe is trying to switch the paradigm to a much more divine feminine paradigm. But unfortunately, I also look at the fact that in 2018, 2019, and 2020 is going to be the 3 years of the most Capricorn we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And that's law and order, government, you know, change. And she's calling for more of the same. He's calling for extreme change. And his 4-year candidacy fits more with what's coming up in the future of astrology than herself. So that you got to kind of weigh out a lot of these things. You know, that's what kind of makes it kind of crazy.
All right. Okay. Fascinating. We have a lot of questions, David. Let's take one of them. There's been a lot of talk about Hillary's health. And so just looking at the chart, does it seem like her health is at risk, or that there could be some decline in her health before the election or during or after?
It's kind of hard to call her health because we don't know her exact birth time. A lot of people have always called, I think she's an Aries rising, personally. I've done a lot of my own thing. I think she's an Aries rising. And what's interesting, that would make her 6th house Virgo. And then, of course, Mercury would be her ruling planet. Mercury is and there was a lot of Virgo energy that went through. So that's maybe why she had some weird health stuff recently. I don't really foresee too much crazy health stuff with her right now. I'm going to be honest, because I can't calculate it correctly, but she does now have Jupiter sextiling her Jupiter. She I don't see anything that really is affecting her in a bad way. She's a super fixed sign. The fixed signs finally don't have Saturn for the next couple of years, at least another like 5 years. So she's pretty good, I would say, health wise. And Donald Trump would be the one that would have more of a weird health thing. I've always said Saturn's going to be conjuncting his moon in 2017 and opposing his sun, and his health, he does have Pluto getting ready to come into Capricorn, and that's more of the health house, and he's a Leo rising, and there's a lot more health stuff happening in Leo rising's department than any other sign with that much Capricorn. Capricorn rules the sixth house of health for Leo rising. So for him, I would actually say his health would be enamored way more, and I think that he's reaching his level of stress that he might not be able to handle. He also was a Leo rising, which could mean his heart. Could be that he has a heart attack, or he has some heart palpitations, or he might even be going through that. Who knows?
All right. Okay, David, fascinating stuff. I would like to invite everyone to take a deep breath at this point. Just take a breath wherever you're at, whatever this might have brought up for you. Just take a moment. And then I wanted to just bring us to the next place where, David, in your event, you talked about how at the end of the day, in your opinion, it doesn't matter who is president because there's a bigger game that we're playing. So can you talk a little bit about that and what you meant by that statement at your event?
Yes, I want to address, I saw a quick little thing in the comment section. Somebody said Saturn equals police state. A lot of people thought with Pluto entering Capricorn that it was going to be this crazy, crazy police state. I actually think the opposite is happening. I actually think that people are finding ways to, I think we're realizing that people have more power than we give ourselves. We seem to think that the government tries to control us, where at the end of the day, I think the government is losing its control of people. So I just want to say that. I'm not one who's like total fearful of all this Capricorn coming that's going to be like, oh my God, like the government's going to control us. And I think this kind of segues into your question, Amanda, is that it doesn't matter what candidate really is. You're the one with the power. You're the one who is going to change your life and make your life great. Like having Trump or having Hillary in there is not going to change us doing webinars like this, or you creating Astrology Hub, or me continuing with Leo King, or you guys all out there doing your creative adventures and your jobs in your life. Like none of that's going to change. And so I think it's really important to actually really look at more of like this election is helping us start to see, I think, with both candidates that, maybe we are projecting both sides of our collective conscious. There's a side of us that, really wants to be bombastic and more flashy and more comedic and a little bit hardcore with realistic issues that nobody wants to talk about. But we also have to find a way to do it in Hillary's way, where we have to be compassionate and we have to, deal with that part. And so I think this is kind of like a split of our consciousness. It goes well with the Neptune and Pisces, the South Node. There is a split in consciousness happening, and we're seeing both sides, and this is us projecting this onto ourselves. And so we need to pay more attention to that instead of get caught up into, well, one side's the right side only, and that's the only way to go. And that's what I think will overall help people with this, is realizing that you have the power. And you know what? Both sides have great sides. Both sides have powerful, great aspects to look at. And of course, why can't we as people, and if we are Americans, and if you're not American watching, but even in your own country, why can't we as people, if we believe in these great things, why aren't we the ones making the change? Because I always say Martin Luther King made more change than any freaking president did. And all he did was do his truth and step on a stage and speak. No president has the power to make the change that you really think it would be. It's just a great place to get a lot of attention and a talking head. But at the end of the day, the people who make the greatest change were definitely not presidents. They're definitely people that are stepping into their truth and doing it because I think people rally around people more than a politician at the end of the day.
You know what's so interesting about what you're bringing up, and in terms of the timing with what you were talking about earlier, is we're all extraordinarily distracted by this election at the very moment where we're being asked to make very big decisions that will impact the next 2 years of our lives. So if we were able to turn some of that energy that we're focused on this external election and what it means for the country and for the world, and turn that on, bring some of that energy in and think about how we can be making a better impact and how we can be exactly like you just said, beacons for change and light on the planet. Maybe it won't have as much impact. So all the fear that people have around the election, if we were able to kind of turn that inward and say, okay, well, what can I do to have an impact? What can I do to help? That seems like it'd be a very productive thing for us to do come October, November, December with the energy shift that we're going to have.
Yeah, don't let this be a distraction. Like, really kind of go where you're going in your long term and where you can make your greatest life and help others and do that. The election stuff to me is just comedy. Like, I posted today, my buddy made a Trump video and a Trump song, and it's hilarious. I love it. And it's so funny. And then everybody got all crazy thinking I'm promoting Trump. It's like, well, if my buddy made a Hillary song and it was really funny and it was a funny video and it was a good song, I'd put that out too. Like at the end of the day, like, that's all it is. Like, it's just funny. It's like a great reality show. But that's what we are all. That's Saturn square Neptune right now. That's, the crazy, chaotic, weird world we're in right now. And that's just the astrology, and that's how it's playing out. And that's okay. Like there's this issue. I think that our collective conscious has this belief issue going on that, like, we're all screwed and look at, this is the best that we could come up with. Well, sorry, that's actually what our collective consciousness is experiencing to learn some sort of lesson, and we should listen to it, and we shouldn't make it horrible. We should embrace it and be like, okay, well, why is this? Let's take that in and let's see where that goes. Sometimes, weird things pop up to teach us great lessons. Like, sometimes, you go on a date with somebody who you just, didn't like at all, but you know what? They might have taught you the greatest lesson that you ever wanted in your life, And so instead of looking at it and being like, I can't believe I went out with that girl, oh my God, it's like, oh, actually, like, this person taught me something great, and I learned, and I won't go that direction anymore because of that. So I think, I think you're right about these next 3 months. Don't let the election sway you so much. I use it for fun and entertainment, and with astrology, it's hilarious. I have a great time, and to be honest with you, I just, no matter what my opinions are or whatever, I just love the whole aspect of it. And for me, it's like a video game. And which video game person am I rooting for this week? Like, it's like.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Okay. So I wanted to just take a few minutes before we go to Q&A to talk about what's coming up the next few days. So we, like I said in the beginning, have been doing the Astrology Summit 2.0, and this David's talk tonight is one of the encore presentations. There's been 32 talks from all kinds of astrologers from all over the world. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing an encore presentation where we will have 3 astrology talks as voted by the over 10,000 people who joined the event. 3 more talks that will be airing tomorrow. So look for an email from me tomorrow morning. You'll get access to 3 of the trainings that were the most popular during the event. You'll also have access to this talk again, so you can watch the Leo King. And so one thing I just wanted to share is just the impacts that this event has had on people, and it's truly blown me away. This is the summit. Is something that I love doing. It's part of my own learning for astrology, but what's been amazing is to see how it actually impacts people's lives. So I've been getting a ton of feedback, and I just wanted to read a few things. And this is going to lead into how you can access David's 4-part astrology training course for free. So I'll get to that in just a sec. Okay, so a couple quotes from the audience. So wonderful. I'm a first-year beginner, and this was everything I could ask for and more. It's inspired me in new ways every day, and I can't wait to study more and more. I wish I had a talk to listen to every day. I learned different kinds of astrology uses and so many terms. I'm hooked and thrilled. And that is what gets me so excited, that there's certain people that they're actually now going down the path of learning astrology. They want to become astrologers because of what they learned from the event. And one more quote, "It's an overwhelming feast of astrology info. So glad I got the upgrade package because I know I wouldn't have the bandwidth to listen to all these amazing astrologers one after another. It's like very rich chocolate. I need to savor and digest it slowly. Thank you so much, Amanda, and your community. It blew my mind. Spiritual awakening, check." So as you can see, the people have been extraordinarily impressed with the breadth and depth of the speakers and the content. So if you want to check it out, you can still do so. You haven't totally missed the event. You can listen to 3 talks tomorrow. And again, I'll send an email out about that. And if you want to access David's 4-part astrology training, you can do so by upgrading. So the event was free if you listen live. You can also upgrade, and the upgrade package is only $97 right now. It'll be $197 Friday at midnight. So now's the time to buy if you're interested. And what you'll get with that is 32 videos and audios, plus all the transcripts, plus all the bonus gifts from the astrologers. So every astrologer gave a bonus gift. And so, David, I'd love for you to give us a download on what your 4-part training is, and then I'll reiterate how everyone can access that.
So my 4-part training course is beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. I start you from the basics of astrology and teach you how to not only understand astrology as a whole, but understand how to then read your chart. And I go through you step by step. I actually have you, I'm with you. I'm like, all right, go here, pull up the chart, enter your birthday here. This is how you do it. If you don't have any money and you don't have any astrology programs, I teach you how to do it through astro.com, where you can run all your charts, how you can understand how to read your chart, how you can understand everything from the basic house system to a square to everything. I get you all the way to the point to where you can run you and a lover, and to where you can actually start to see, like, is this going to work or is this not going to work? Because a lot of people, want to know how to do this stuff kind of on their own. And so I kind of made this 8-hour course split into 4 sections to teach you. And I mean, I really go, it's crazy. I even had this weird, I made up a person and made up a chart, and it actually became like a real soul that had come through. It was crazy. It was crazy, but that's what it is. And it really teaches you all the aspects of astrology. I go all the way to expert. I get all the way to progressed composite readings of relationships, progressed composite with solar arcs and how to run all that stuff, all the way to the basics of what is Mars and how does Mars affect me in my first house, and what is, so and what is astrology, the basics, and what to look for. And so it really, if you want to know everything about astrology, I sell for $150 on my website. But if you do join this thing, you get all of the Astrology Hub webinars for the last 33 speakers. And then you get all my courses, which I usually sell for $150.
Yeah, it's amazing, David. Thank you so much. This is such a generous gift. And so we hear all the time, people are asking, how do I read my chart? I want to learn how to read my chart myself. And I want to be able to look at me with partners, me with business partners, me with coworkers, me with my mom. So it sounds like we get all of that information in your training. So thank you so much for that very, very, very generous offering. And if you would like to take advantage of that, you can. The link should be in the chat right now. It's the upgrade package from the Astro Summit 2.0. I know that you're going to be blown away with all the incredible information that is in there. It's truly been a labor of love for me and my team at Astrology Hub, and we're just so excited that we get to share it with you. So thank you for letting us talk about that for just a second. Before we go into our Q&A, so I'm looking for some of our questions here. All right, so someone asked, and we're going to go back to the election again real quick. But, oh, no, actually, I want to ask this one. Hold on.
Yeah, be discerning.
Yeah, I'm going to be discerning. Okay, so from Allie, you've talked about a big new life, new beginning starting for us all. What if we aren't seeing signs of it yet? So what to expect and when?
Well, great thing to bring up on the dark of the moon when you can't see crap. The new moon's Friday. Right after that, things really start to move forward. So, I mean, it's like the dark of the moon, we just went through an eclipse period for a month and a half. You got to remember that we had 3 eclipses over the last month and a half, and it all finally ends on this new moon Friday. So we're all kind of about to come through. And that's why I brought up and said that October is going to be hard decisions, because you have to make decisions. It's not like it's like in front of you. You're the one who's going to climb the mountain you choose. Like, build the world that you're going to build. And so the doors are all wide open for you right now. If you're saying that you can't see anything, that means you got a wide door right in front of you open. And that's kind of what this is all about. People die for these kind of moments in life. And, don't waste it. Don't sit around. And, Libra loves to sit around and wait for it to show up. Aries does not. And so this is going to be a very intense year of relationships and egos, because this is going to be the final year in our lives that we're going to have Uranus in Aries and Jupiter in Libra, and have such big, powerful planets in the signs dealing with relationships. By 2018, that all is gone. So, like, if you really think about it, we're coming to the edge of why relationships have been so weird. And so think about that one, like,
Right. Awesome. So you're basically telling Allie she has a blank canvas. She gets to create whatever she wants, which is awesome.
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay, so when will we stop feeling Saturn square Neptune?
I am already starting to feel it. The blind corner is, you are turning around the corner, and we're hesitant about actually doing it now. It's almost like a NASCAR coming around a turn after a crash, and there's been smoke, and now you can start to see, and it's like, do I push the gas on heavy now, or do I kind of pull to the right side? Like, what do I do here? It's like when you pass a crash on the freeway, and you're kind of like past it now. You've done the looky-loo thing, and it's like, oh, it's wide open. It's like, I guess I should go. Okay. It's like there's this weird moment of the leaving the hesitation. And I would say that we're leaving it right now. Saturn is going forward and Neptune is stopping, and Saturn's getting full speed. It's getting faster. So every day that goes by, it gets better and better and better and better and better and better. So.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to take a couple more, if that's okay. Is that all right with you? Okay, cool. All right. So how about Pluto in the next year? Can you turn the spotlight on Pluto and what's going to be happening with Pluto and how that will affect us?
Yeah, Pluto's going to have, of course, Jupiter square it, which is always a big bang that comes in the middle of November, like I had brought up. And that also is, kind of a forced big change and big new opportunities. But Pluto isn't going to be, I think, the center. I think we really need to watch Saturn. And I think Saturn's going to be the funnest to watch, because Saturn will be exiting out of the mutable square and will be kind of sitting there in the last decan of Sagittarius for the rest of this year. And it will be dealing with Chiron. So we're going to be facing a lot of how to really implement a better positive life without letting wounds affect us anymore. And that's going to be what 2017 is healing the last wounds. And that's going to, Pluto's just going to be in the background doing its thing, waiting for Saturn to enter into Capricorn at the end of 2017. That's when to watch Pluto. I mean, sure, there'll be some aspects and there'll be some Mercury retrograde stuff around Pluto, but nothing like we've seen. Pluto's not something to worry about over the next 3 months.
Okay, great. And we covered this sort of generally, but can you talk specifically about the holidays this year and what's the energy going to feel like?
I think the holidays going to be kind of mellow.
Great.
I mean, it's Sun in Capricorn, Mars in Pisces. You got to realize, like, those energies are kind of mellow. Saturn's going to be coming into a new position in Sagittarius. It's not going to be in any weird aspects. I think Mercury is retrograde for Mercury retrogrades on the 19th. So it'll be a Mercury retrograde holiday for Christmas. Thanksgiving, I think, will be a little bit more fun and more intense. I think Christmas will be much more relaxing. I don't know when Hanukkah is this year, but those are the two holidays I was thinking about as far as that stuff. And the new year will be really good because the new moon will have already happened. Uranus will have gone direct, and we'll be in kind of like a real positive new area, so
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that you just brought up the Mercury retrograde. There's a question about any advice on how to handle this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in the last one of 2016.
I think that's going to be the main Pluto thing, is Mercury does retrograde on Pluto and Capricorn. And this one is just going to get to the bottom of like understanding any last things about where your path is, where you're going. You're never going to get a Mercury conjunct Pluto and Capricorn ever again. So, this is going to get to the bottom of really deep things for you, of understanding information regarding what your path is and the path that you need to choose. One thing about Capricorn is your destiny is written for you, but you've got to build the plan for it. I mean, destinies can be seen, destinies can be felt, but it's one thing to walk the trail. My mom always likes to say, you got to show up. One thing about Capricorn is you got to show up to work in the suit, looking good, or you're fired. And I think this Mercury retrograde is showing you where you need to go look a little deeper in wherever that is in your chart, but how to succeed more at this spot. And this is a really amazing time for you to succeed. And what are the issues that you haven't gotten to the bottom of that you can finally see and start to understand?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. I think it's time to wrap up. So if you want to check out the upgrade from the Astro Summit 2.0, the link is in the chat. Also, like I said, look for an email from me for tomorrow. There's 3 more surprise talks that you'll be able to access. So please just check that out. Little present in your inbox tomorrow. And David, thank you so much for, again, sharing your wisdom and your enthusiasm and your passion with all of us. It's been a true pleasure. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Yep. All right. We'll talk to you very soon. Aloha, everybody.
Bye, everyone.